We also have more information for you on the other top story of the morning, the murder of one of the few doctors in the country who performs late-term abortions. Dr. George Tiller was gunned down Sunday morning in the foyer of his church. Late-term abortion is legal in Kansas if it's needed to prevent irreversible impairment to the mother. ABC's Jeffrey Kaufman is in Wichita, Kansas. He has the very latest for us. Good morning, Jeffrey.
And good morning to you, Chris. It happened just as Sunday services were getting underway. After enduring bombings, threats, and protests for decades, Dr. George Tiller was killed with a single gunshot.
George Tiller was a friend of mine, and I care about him, and I'm sorry he's gone.
Hundreds of people gathered at an impromptu vigil in Wichita for one of the nation's most controversial doctors.
I didn't always agree, but then I came to a place where I understood.
Dr. George Tiller, in the news for years because he was one of the few doctors in the country who performed late-term abortions, was shot and killed Sunday morning at Reformation Lutheran Church while serving as an usher in the church lobby. His wife and his daughter were also in the church at the time. Just hours after the murder, police pulled over a blue Ford Taurus heading from Wichita to Kansas City. A 51-year-old suspect, Paul Roeder, is now in custody and expected to appear in court later today. His ex-wife was reached by phone.
He was very vocal about his feelings of abortion. He was part of different militia things and anti-government and anti-tax and anti-abortion, obviously.
This is not the first time the doctor has come under attack from anti-abortion activists. He drove an armored car. He often wore a bulletproof vest. His clinic was bombed in 1987. He was shot in both arms in 1993. But defiantly, he was back at work the next day.
I have a right to go to work. What I am doing is legal, what I'm doing is moral, what I'm doing is ethical, and you're not going to run me out of town.
Recent controversy over his work made him the focal point of many debates on cable, often referring to him as Tiller, the baby killer.
I don't care what you think. We have incontrovertible evidence, all right, that this man is executing babies about to be born in late term because the woman is depressed.
While many on both sides of this divisive debate condemn the shooting of Dr. Tiller, Randall Terry, founder of Operation Rescue, issued this statement. George Tiller was a mass murderer. He was an evil man. His hands were covered with blood.
And a lot of inflammatory comments on the internet. On Twitter, one person wrote, "Oh, happy day, Tiller the baby killer is dead." Another wrote, "God bless the gunman." Clearly, the passions in this issue have not gone away. Diane?
All right, Jeffrey, thanks to you. And just minutes ago, I had a chance to talk to Lee Thompson, Dr. Tiller's lawyer and friend for 20 years, who says that Dr. Tiller felt that desperate women needed help, along with Adam Watkins, who was in the Reformation Lutheran Church at the time of the shooting. Mr. Thompson, I know he was your good friend as well as a client for you, and we are so sorry about the news this morning. Did he live in fear? We knew he had an armored car. He wore a bulletproof vest.
No, absolutely not. Even though he existed in a climate of intimidation and fear, Dr. Tiller got up every morning and put on a button that said, "Attitude is everything." One of the most remarkably positive and courageous men I've ever known.
Adam, you were in the church. The first hymn is being sung. What do you hear?
We just sitting there with my family and friends. We just heard it sound like a pop.
Just a pop, as if a balloon had gone off?
Yes, just it's like it just sounded like a pop, and I just turned to my little brother. I said, "You know, what was that?" Kind of thought it just sounded like a balloon popping.
Mrs. Tiller was in the choir. Does this mean that she saw what happened?
I don't believe she did. He was back in the foyer of the church.
Yes, you could not see the foyer from where the sanctuary is. You can't really see out there.
And you heard her scream, her cry of distress?
Yes.
Given the controversy and given the danger, why was he committed to doing this? What was it exactly that he wanted to make sure that he was accomplishing?
Dr. Tiller always said he had fallen in love with the doctor-patient relationship. and confronting and dealing with women in the times of utmost stress and the most difficult circumstances imaginable was a rewarding experience to him. And the fact that he is one of, if not the only one of two, very few doctors who perform these services speaks to his dedication and his courage throughout his life.
And Mr. Thompson, is it true that he said once to you that his life story would be told in the lives of the women he felt he'd helped save?
Yes, it's interesting. During the recent trial, someone suggested that he needed to write a biography of his life. And Dr. Tiller's response was, I don't need to write anything. I will live on through the lives of my patients, and my story will be told through their stories, the women whose needs have been met. And I thought that reflected his mindset in terms of serving women and having, again, I just use the phrase servant attitude towards those patients.
I know you've spoken with Mrs. Tiller. What has she said to you?
We've just had brief conversations. She's grief-stricken, and we've tried not to impinge upon her privacy. She, of course, is grieving very seriously, but has exhibited the strength that has characterized her and her entire family over the years.
Well, again, we thank you both so much for being with us this morning, for getting up early.
All right, thank you.
And, of course, it's not just Mrs. Tiller. It's 4 children and 10 grandchildren who have lost him. Thank you.
Thank you.